So, you have the dreaded E02 warning from your Coleman SaluSpa or LazySpa. Welcome to the party. After doing a good bit of research, I couldn't really find a video that put all of the parts together on troubleshooting this error. So hopefully this video will take care of everything that you need to know. First, from the manual, you can see E02 is basically a flow warning, saying that there's no flow going through the system. I'm guessing you've already checked the filters and possibly even taken the egg off and run a hose through the inlet to try and clean up any debris, but of course you still have that persistent code, so this is for you advanced folks out there. The first step in troubleshooting is to really listen to what's going on inside the egg. Whenever you turn on the heater, are you hearing the pump come on? Take a listen to these several videos. As you can hear from this working egg, you can hear the pump come on. Notice the hum of the pump. On the second example, notice how there's no hum at all. In fact, you can't hear anything whenever you press the heater button. You press it, hear nothing, and then the error comes on. Finally, in this third example, listen to the grinding noise. This is a dead giveaway that something's wrong with your pump. We'll go through and troubleshoot all three of these issues, as well as mention a few things that you might want to keep in mind. The only tools you're going to need is a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, and possibly a multimeter. First, remove the 6 screws going around the outside of the middle of the egg. You don't need to take off the top control panel yet. Once you have those 6 screws removed, take off the entire top half of the egg. Be sure not to stress the ribbon cable going to the control panel. You can see the different components inside of the egg. The first is the flow sensor. Keep in mind, this entire E02 takes place within that flow sensor. If it's not working, then you're absolutely going to get the error. I'll show you what I mean later on in this video. The second is the heating element, and the third one is the circuit board. The water pump is on the bottom side of the egg. We'll get to that in a minute. Remove the 2 screws from the circuit board cover. This will give you access to the water pump wires. With the cover removed, you can see the grounding bar on the left-hand side and all of the wires going to the circuit board on the right-hand side. We're going to put a meter on that in a minute and check and make sure that the water pump is actually getting 120 volts. We're going to want to take a look at the 2 wires on the very left of the control panel, marked E on the wire itself. You'll see a white one and a black one. At this point, hook your meter up to the ground wire and the white wire from the pump. All that we're going to do is turn on power and once again turn on the heater and make sure that the pump is actually being supplied 120 volts from the circuit board. All I'm doing is making sure the circuit board is not the problem here. Turn on power to the egg and turn on the heater and watch E02 pop up again. As long as we're seeing 120 volts come up, then that means the pump is being supplied the 120 volts of electricity, but not coming on for some reason. That means we definitely have a pump issue. Now that we know that the pump is the problem, remove the wires going to the control board and the grounding bar and push them back through to the bottom section of the egg. Now, what we want to do is flip the egg over upside down and remove the bottom cover. You can see it's being held on by 4 Phillips head screws. Remove those and remove the bottom cover. With the bottom cover removed, you can see the inlet to the water pump. This hose here I have actually seen completely kinked before. This typically happens when the hot tub is hot and that hose is just a little bit stressed and then power's lost and that hose becomes cold and hardens up in place, so that way water's never going to be able to get through that kink. My best solution for this is to remove the hose and then put it in a pot of boiling water to try and bend it back into place. With the hose off, remove the 2 screws going to the pump and remove it from the egg. With the pump removed, you can see we're going to have to remove another 6 screws to take apart the pump and gain access to the impeller. Remove the halves and you can just pull the impeller right out. And what do you know? The plastic is completely cracked and rusted, and it looks like it's moved a little bit. It's blown outwards a little bit. So it must have been rubbing on the inside of the pump walls, and I'm guessing it caused it to not move at all. So this impeller's completely bad. It's shot. This has to be the cause of our problems. What's nice is if you take a look at the side of the pump, you can see number P4071 is written on it. And if you just stick that into Amazon, you can find a rebuild kit for a whopping $21.99. So $22 to get a new impeller and gasket kit. That's not too shabby. Finally, I want to circle back to the flow sensor and show you what I mean whenever I say this flow sensor is completely connected to the error E02 warning. The pump really doesn't send a warning. It's all in the flow sensor actually. So I'll show you what I mean. If you're one of those people that hears the pump running perfectly fine and are still getting the warning, your issue is probably with the flow sensor. I've actually seen these things have mineral deposits all over them and become frozen in place. So you're going to want to take this thing out and clean it with a toothbrush and just make sure that it's freely moving. You can see that the flap end of the sensor, whenever the water's flowing, pushes up against the other magnetic sensor at the top. As long as these two are in contact, you're perfectly fine. It means that water's flowing. If those contacts are removed from one another, meaning the magnet is too far away, then you're going to get the error. I just wanted to show you an example of why this flow sensor is connected to this error E02. Take a look at this. I completely removed the pump out of the egg. You can see it's not connected at all and it's in shambles, laying on the ground. Now I'm going to turn on the power, press the heat button, and what do you know? No error E02 coming up. As long as those two magnets are touching one another, you are not going to get error E02. Now take it, flip it back around, and error E02. Go figure. I actually haven't seen any of these magnetic sensors go bad, but there is a guy that sells replacement parts for $12 for this sensor. So $22 for the pump impeller, or $12 for the magnetic sensor. Either way, it's a pretty cheap fix for the error E02. Finally, to close the video, just put everything back together, and you should be good to go. Just listen to the hum.